Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Andi Putri from Management International class major. Today, I would like to show you and I would like to explain to you how I did my accounting midterm test that was given by Sir Ahmad. And let's get started. Already did the general journal in point 2 into the table in Excel. I would like to explain to you why is it on a debit side and why is it on a credit side. Starting off with the first transaction, 1st August deposit to BCA for 5,000 rupiah as business capital. In this transaction, there are two accounts, which is cash and capital. To determine which one is debit and which one is credit, you have to know the mechanism of debit and credit. Cash is one of the component of assets, which is on a debit side, and capital is one of the components of equity, which is on credit side. For the cash transaction or cash account, you can put the nominal on the debit side and the capital on a credit side. For the second transaction in the 1st August, it is at the pay office rental for August for 3,200. There are two account explanation here, which is rent building expense because they pay office rental, and cash is because they pay for it. Here on the mechanism, expense is on the debit side. So you put the nominal for expense in debit, and cash is in credit. Why? Because when you use the cash will be on the credit side. So for the third transaction in 1st August, it is said that they pay car rental to Mr. Santoso, which it will be re-rented for 9,000, is for 3 months. So in the third transaction, the first account explanation is prepaid car rental on debit because they pay the car rent for 3 months, and the car rent will become prepaid car rental assets for the next 3 months for the companies. And the second transaction or the second account is cash, which will be on the credit because they pay 9,000 rupiah for the car rent. The fourth transaction, 1st August, hire you as a part-time accountant. Agreed salary is 2,400 a month, and that will be paid 1,200 on 15 and half at the end of the month. At the fourth transaction, it is only an agreement. There is no transaction there. That's why I didn't put it in the general journal. For the fifth transaction on 2nd August, they received rent bill last month for 1,200. So the accounts are cash and account receivable. Cash on debit because they received money from last month bill for about 1,200, and account receivable is on credit because the account receivable is decreasing for 1,200. And then the sixth transaction is 3rd August, received prepaid payment of car rental from Maju Mundur store, period August and September for 8,000 rupiah. At the sixth transaction, there are cash and prepaid car rental income. Why? Because they received payment, that means they got cash, is on a debit side, and they also received prepaid car rental income that is for August and September, and income is on the credit side. Now, moving on to the seventh transaction, 3rd August, they pay off the debt of equipment in July for 500 rupiah. So, because they pay off the debt of equipment, the account payable or the liabilities for the business is decreasing. When the liabilities is decreasing, it will be on the debit side. But when it's increasing, it will be on a credit side. And also, the cash is decreasing because we pay debt. It will be on a credit side. Moving on to the 8th transaction, 4th August, fill up gasoline for cars for 1,320 and buy some operational stuff such as mineral water, tissue, and etc. for 280. So in here, there are 3 account explanation, which is gasoline expense because they fill up gasoline for the cars. There are also an equipment, consumable equipment, because they buy mineral water, tissue, etc. for 280 rupiah. There are two expense and the debit side because the expense is debit and the cash is credit because we use the money to pay for these expenses. Next, ninth transaction at 5th August, purchase on credit office equipment and furniture for 10,000 rupiah. There are office equipment account and account payable business. Office equipment because we buy the equipment, and account payable for business because we purchase it on credit. It's basically a liabilities. So you put it into the credit side, and for the office equipment, it's on the debit side. For the 10th transaction at 8th August, pay for brochure for 360 rupiah. So there are two accounts, which is advertisement expense because we pay for the brochure, and cash, the advertisement expense on the debit side, and cash is on the credit side because it's decreasing. For the 11th transaction at 11th August, it is said that deposit to the BCA cash income for daily car rental services 1st August to 10th August for 12,500 rupiah. So the account is cash and daily rent income. So the cash in BCA increasing for 12,500 rupiah, and it's on the debit side because the cash is increasing, and the daily rent income is also increasing, and we put it into the credit side of the table because income is on the credit side. And then the 12th transaction is 12th August, receive monthly cash payment of rental service for 3,000 from period 1st to 31 2022. So there are two transactions here. The cash is increasing, which will be on the debit, and we got monthly rent income because it is said that period 1st to 31st August. For the 13th transaction, August paid for the rental of two cars entrusted by Mr. Rahman for 5,000 rupiah. So there are two transactions, the rent cars expense and the cash, because the rent cars expense is on a debit side because it's increasing and cash is decreasing. So we put it into the credit side. For the 14th transaction at 15th August, they pay you as a part-time accountant for 1,200 for the period 1 to 15 August. There are salary expense and cash for account explanation. And salary expense is debit. Expense is debit, so we put 1,200 on the debit. And cash, because they pay salary using cash, so the cash is decreasing in the credit side for 1,200 rupiah. Now for the 15th transaction at 18th August, fill up gasoline for daily car rental for 650 rupiah. So the 15th transactions, there are gasoline expense in cash because they fill up gasoline, so the gasoline expense increasing into 650 rupiah in the debit side, and cash is decreasing because we use the cash to pay for the gasoline expense, so it will be on the credit side for 650 rupiah. And 16th transaction at 21st August, purchase on credit supplies for car cleaning and office stationery for 750. So there are equipment expense because they buy supplies and office stationery. Also, there are account payable for business because they purchase it on credit. And account payable is a liability, so you put the account payable into the credit side and the equipment expense into the debit side. For the 17th transaction at 22nd August, pay advertising fee for publication from 24 to 20 August 1,600. So there are advertisement expense and cash. So advertisement expense is on the debit side for 1,600 because expense is on the debit side and cash is decreasing. It will be on the credit side. So cash is on the credit side for 1,600 rupiah. For the 18th transaction, on 23rd August, they received a down payment of 1,500 for daily car rental for 5 days from 25th August to 29th August. So on 23rd August, they received cash, which will be on the debit side for 1,500. The total agreed for rental price is 2,500, and the remaining bill will be paid in September. So the total agreed rental price is 2,500, but they only got paid for 1,500. So the remaining is what you called an account receivable, and account receivable is on debit for 1,000 left. And then in credit, it will be prepaid income for 2,500 in total. So for the 19th transaction, 27th August paid the August phone bill for 620 rupiah. So there are two transactions here, which is phone bill expense and cash, because they pay for the phone bill, which the expense is increasing, so we put it into the debit side for 620 rupiah, and cash because we pay for the phone bill, so the cash is decreasing on credit for 620 rupiah. For the 20th transaction at 28th August, purchased daily rental car gasoline for 1,200 rupiah and refill drinking water for office for 100 rupiah. There are three account explanation. So the gasoline expense for 1,200 in debit, office equipment consumable also in debit for 100, and the cash is decreasing because we pay these expenses. We're using cash, so the cash is on the credit side for 1,300 rupiah. For the 21st transaction, receive an upfront payment of 6,000 rupiah for a monthly car rental to be used in September. So in here, we got cash and prepaid income. Cash, because we received a payment for 6,000 rupiah, and prepaid income in the credit side because we received an upfront payment that is to be used in September. So we receive prepaid income, which is on the credit side, and the cash is on the debit side because we received the money. For the 20th transaction, which is in 30 August, they pay the August driver salary for 3,000 rupiah and the part-time accountant salary for 1,200 rupiah. At the 22nd transaction, they pay for the salary, which means there is a salary expense and cash. Salary expense is on the debit side for 4,200 because we just compute the driver salary and the part-time accountant salary. So it will be 4,200 rupiah, and cash is decreasing for 4,200 rupiah in credit because we use the cash to pay for the salary. And now for the 23rd transaction at 31st August, it is at the deposit to BTA cash income of rental services from 1 to 30 August for 5,600. So in 23rd transaction, we deposit cash in BTA for 5,600 rupiah, which will be on the debit side because the cash is increasing. We also got monthly income because it is said that services from 1st to 30 August for 5,000 2,600 rupiah at the credit side. For the 24th transaction, which is still in the 31st August, it is said that pay the cost of routine car service for 1,800 rupiah. So there are car surface expense and the debit for 1,800 because expense is on a debit side, and cash decreasing because we use the cash. It will be on the credit for 1,800 rupiah. For the 25th transaction, in 31st August, withdraw cash from BCA from Mr. Jaya's need of 2,000 rupiah. So there are two account explanation, which is Mr. Jaya's price and cash. Mr. Jaya's price because for that day there's a withdrawal cash for Mr. Jaya for 2,000 rupiah in the debit side, and cash is decreasing for 2,000 rupiah, which is on the credit side. And then the last transaction in August, at the 31st August, they pay bank loan installments to buy a car. August payments consist of principal installment of 2,500 rupiah and interest for 1,600 rupiah. So there are three account explanation here, which is bank loan, interest expense, and cash. Bank loan is basically a liability, but why is it on a debit? Because we pay for the liability. We pay for the loan. That's why it is on the debit side of the table for 2,500. And there's also an interest expense for 1,600. And there's also cash because they pay for the bank loan and interest. And you just have to compute the bank loan and interest expense. So it will be 4,100 rupiah for the cash and the credit because we use the cash to pay for these loan and expenses. And the total for every transaction in August, from the first transaction to the 26th transaction in August, the total for the debit and credit is 91,680 rupiah for both debit and credit, and it is balanced. Okay, so that's all from me for the accounting midterm test. See you next time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.